Everyone, we're starting our online class. My voice will sound a bit different in this recording. I, unfortunately, do not have access to professional-grade recording equipment. That is why I'm using AI to translate these recordings into 2 languages while simultaneously enhancing their overall clarity. If you open the file I sent, you'll find 5 separate files inside, starting right at 00. How will the grading be handled? For 01, we will review the renders, and for 02, we will assess the screenshots. At 03, reference drawings and schematic plans. These are the sheet examples you will use for project. I have sent these over as both CAD and Revit templates. If you encounter any trouble opening the Revit files, please feel free to use the CAD versions. Now, regarding the templates from English, we are going to select the default metric system for this project. Please make sure you do not select the imperial measurement system. Choosing that would definitely cause us some significant problems later on. The default metric will provide every single one of drawing features we require drawing share and in the most straightforward form possible. Now, to start off, of course, we're setting our units. It's important that they're in centimeters. Following that, you can observe the CAD file, which is structured just like this. It is possible for this to be imported. If you choose to copy the file location and then paste it into the Revit software, Revit will automatically guide you directly to that location by the shortest possible route. However, before you actually proceed with that particular action, our project browser isn't visible on the screen. To open it, you can go to View, then User Interface, and bring up the project browser. Because I am currently using 2 separate screens, it was actually a little bit difficult to snap it into position on the right side. We are now opening the drawing references that we will be utilizing from this point forward in AutoCAD. There are both cross-sections and schematics here. If we look at these elevation points that are found within the cross-sections we are currently reviewing, we really need to export all the items that I have marked on the screen over to Revit. I'm moving the drawing to the other screen. Now, if we decide to switch our view to an elevation, we can see that we currently have 2 distinct and clearly defined elevations right in front of us. Our first point is 0.51, which is equivalent to exactly 51 centimeters. I'm entering their names here. It's asking us if we want to apply the change we made to the names in the project browser. We need to say yes, so that the names in the project browser are updated as well. Following that, I am going to copy these height measurements, making sure that I have plenty to spare. If there happen to be any left over after we have finished adding in all of the necessary codes, we will simply go ahead and delete them. Now we are at 02. It's the first floor. At the roof level, now, this specific point is absolutely critical for us. We need to precisely define the lower and upper elevation levels of these roof structures. The small roof section is labeled as R1. The low or bottom of R1 is 8.31, the high part is 10.61, R2's low is 13.41, and the high part Now, before you start entering all of those exact measurements, let's move this over to the side just a little bit so it doesn't get all mixed up. We are going to adjust the measurements I just mentioned using the specific values that we recently obtained from the AutoCAD program. Within this specific drawing, I am also going to activate the bubbles on the left-hand side. I'm moving the roof bubbles slightly to the side on both ends. This way, we are currently in the east view. If we decide to proceed in this manner, the lines and the bubble annotations will also be protruding from the western elevation. It is important that the drawings and elevations remain clean. There is some overlapping text visible right here. By clicking on these specific breakpoints, we are going to move it up just a little bit so that it is much clearer for everyone to see. I'm turning on the bubbles for the other elevations in the same way. I have decided not to make any specific changes regarding the north and south views in this particular video. You are more than welcome to correct these minor issues yourself whenever you are working on your own personal project. Similarly, please make sure to pay the same level of careful attention to the sections so that the final drawings look professional and clean. In a similar fashion, from the breaking points once again. I am moving it up and down right now. I am currently in the process of entering the correct values for the ARCH210 dataset. (4.39) lower point, 7.07 upper point. I entered a wrong value there. I'm correcting it again. Now I really need us to make absolutely certain, yes, make sure that this entire row is moving in perfect synchronization together. We also separated it at the breaking point. These are not currently visible in the views on the right side. So we need to go to the plan view, select the inactive layers, the layers themselves, and then activate them. Now all of them have been moved into the project browser. We are going to need to add the schematic plans. Go to the Insert tab and select Import CAD. Use the file we copied. We are starting off by adding the location and the ground floor to the project. It might not appear on the screen at first. It might shift a bit up or down. We use the Move tool to grab them and place them in the center. It is perfectly fine if you just place it somewhere random like this, and I have left a very clear reference point for you to utilize, which should make it much easier for you. We cannot see the ground floor from the first floor level. That is exactly why we have selected the level below in the view range settings. We can align it in this specific way by utilizing the reference point. Found the reference point, it's right in the middle. I have put it back in place. This specific reference point is found in the last file I updated. If you have already started this task in class, and if you have successfully overlaid all of the files together, you would not have required a specific reference point in the first place. I am going to repeat this exact same process for the roof level as well. I have taken it from the established reference point. However, since the bottom section is not open in the view range settings, we are going to have to pull it from the view depth level instead. I am going to select the ground floor level, and by carefully aligning all of the specific reference points together, I will then proceed to place them directly on top of one another. I don't need to check the lower floor anymore. We'll seal it off to avoid any further confusion. Now, by using this button, we have switched over to 3D to check it. All of the drawings are perfectly superimposed and they look really quite good. At the moment, we do not have any reference for the garden level. Therefore, we are copying the drawing from the ground floor and pasting it onto the garden level. This way, we now have a reference for the garden level as well. We have already verified it in 3D based on the drawing. You must organize all of the various elevations so that they are perfectly clear and easy to understand. Alright, everything's in order. We can start drawing now. I'm keeping the original drawings open on the side for constant reference. I'll refer to them periodically while I work on the drawing. Honestly, I don't need the specific measurements included there. Feel free to turn off that layer or delete it. It makes no difference to me. I deleted the measurements because I won't be saving them again. Go to the Wall section in the Architecture tab. Original drawings specify a 25 centimeter wall. I'm creating a new 25 centimeter wall family. In Structure Settings, set thickness to 25. Since I am already working on this, I will go ahead and construct the 10 cm and 40 cm walls so that I do not have to waste any time on them later. And now, all three of our wall families are included as well. We have now added the Pick to Wall and the Pick to Lines options for you to select. We are able to create walls by simply clicking on the lines. This is the base constraint for this. At this present moment, we are currently positioned here on the ground floor. Furthermore, the top constraint is also configured to reach the level directly above the first floor. I accidentally attempted to draw that wall with the wrong thickness. It was set to 40 centimeters. I am in the process of changing that right now. But before I finalize those specific adjustments, I really need to check the view range settings first. We are starting to draw using the Pick to Lines tool. We draw it quite quickly by simply clicking on it like this. However, if you happen to double-click, Revit might throw an error message. Our fireplace there is rotated by 10 centimeters. I'm drawing the 10 centimeter section first, then the 25 centimeter section. Just leave those parts blank for now. You can always trim them down later. There was also an issue with the stair tower here. You can fix it by clicking the trim button or using the TR shortcut. You are certainly capable of fixing this. I corrected this specific section in the exact same manner. You can see there is a slight overhang right here. I simply grabbed hold of it and pulled it into place. Using the align command would make this process much more difficult. There's also another piece located on the top left. I will fix that one using that same method. The total distance between the bathroom and the study is exactly 10 centimeters. This little section right here. I'm doing it with trim. You see, I am afraid that there is absolutely no rule or guideline that could possibly be applied to a situation like this one. In this case as well, you should use the trim function instead of clicking. Quick tip, instead of navigating from the Architecture tab to the Wall tool every time, you can just use the WA keyboard shortcut. I've gone ahead and made a minor adjustment to the configuration. Occasional glitches are bound to happen from time to time. If you encounter one, you can easily bypass it by pressing the escape key. You can also perform this action by dragging or by using the align key or command. The downstairs is almost finished now. That one upstairs. We have a storage room in the back. It's also 1 story high. I'm sketching it out this way. Fair warning, there might be a few mistakes. I was able to fix this by dragging it into place. You can also fix it by using the align tool. To simplify the process for myself, I decided to draw this by hand directly rather than relying on the Pick to Lines tool, and afterwards I corrected it using Align. We are almost finished, and then we have these columns. At this stage, are you placing the columns or are you drawing the walls? It doesn't really matter. Ideally, we should be placing a structural column there. However, to maintain our pace, we are currently installing a 40 centimeter wall in that spot. Whether you choose a column or just sketch out a wall, both options are perfectly acceptable. We have now mostly completed the ground floor. All of our walls are finished. Now, we are going to need to get to work on drawing out the flooring from the floor. A mere 1 centimeter. This measurement includes the structural tie beams. Therefore, we are rising 51 centimeters up from the garden level. You can see this quite clearly if you take a look at the provided cross sections. To be perfectly clear, I am tracing the walls with a single line. At this stage, the Pick Two Lines tool creates a number of unnecessary lines for us. It might end up cluttering the entire drawing. We would spend far too much time cleaning it all up later. Please do not forget to include the terraces while you are drafting the floor. Just leave the staircase out of it for the time being. We can add them in towards the very end of the drawing. Let's take a look at it in 3D. Everything seems to be in its place. We are now able to head up to the upper floor. We're checking which walls are 10 centimeters and which ones are 25. We're starting with the exterior walls, again using pick two lines. The exterior walls are 25 centimeters. Some of the interior walls are 10 centimeters. Once you get the hang of this method, it will significantly increase your drawing speed in the future. Yes, we've drawn most of the 25 centimeter walls. All that's left is the fireplace area, then the 25 centimeter walls. There is an offset in the walk-in closet area. I left it that way intentionally because it runs at 25 centimeters up to a point and then 10 centimeters after that. It's important for the walls to be as continuous as possible. I am trimming down a whole lot of these points. Look, this is a 25 centimeter wall. In the walk-in closet, actually, there is a specific spot right here where I intentionally left a gap for a door. We will fill that section in as a wall shortly because in Revit, we are required to draw a wall first in order to be able to place a door. Now, we are having a bit of a small issue here. This corner is not joining up properly. These kinds of issues tend to happen in Revit from time to time. It's related to the command, that's why. If we find we cannot create it with pick two lines, sometimes you just wipe everything clean, and I am fairly certain that redrawing the entire thing from scratch will solve the problem. There is a 90 centimeter parapet on that section of the balcony. Now, this doesn't reach the roof, so I added a 90 centimeter offset to the first floor plan. Furthermore, I've also adjusted the base measurement to exactly 20 centimeters, allowing the structure to drop a little further than it did before. If you take a moment to carefully examine the 3D models, you will be able to see how this parapet wall is also clearly represented in the reference images provided. I have gone ahead and made a small but necessary correction to it. The majority of the walls are finished now. Let's go ahead and include these few minor additions as well. We are now ready to begin the process of drawing the slab. The thickness of this slab is exactly 30 centimeters. I have gone ahead and created a brand new duplicate for this part, and I have changed its internal structure to 30 centimeters. And in order to make the drawing much more precise, I am going to trace over all of the walls using the line tool. You can see that balcony located over in the distance. We are currently walking all the way around it. There appear to be some gaps here. You will notice a gallery void above the living room and another above the dressing room. I am currently defining the parameters for these voids as follows. As you proceed with the drawing, please ensure there are no overlapping lines and verify that all corners are properly closed. I have also closed off the gallery areas completely. If we take a look, we have the outer perimeter boundaries and the staircase access boundaries. There is really no need to cut an opening just yet. We can take care of that at the very end, once we are much closer to final completion. The first floor is ready, exactly as I have shown you. I haven't covered the top of the storage room yet, but I can easily fix that up in the 3D model. Most of the time, if you have a reference, it doesn't really matter which drawing we're in, you can make small changes in all 3 dimensions. And that's how we finished the top of the storage area as well. Now, as a quick side note, we added a reference to the roof level, though it would have made much more sense if it were labeled R01. Let us begin drawing now, utilizing the 30 centimeter roof family, and then afterwards we have gone ahead and configured it to the R1 low-level setting directly from the Properties menu. Consequently, we no longer have any actual need for these 3 specific references anymore. So we are going to proceed with closing them out right now. Because the roof moves in one direction, the tip of the roof that is located underneath in the top view of this technical drawing. It is not entirely visible from this specific angle, so I have switched to the 3D view and aligned the hidden side of the roof to the wall using the align command. You can trigger this by typing align or by using the shortcut ALE. Now, if we take a moment to examine the elevation from this perspective, we are able to fully perceive the parts that remain unseen. We have just confirmed this information. It seems our roof has ended up a bit too high. It doesn't actually sit at roof level, it sits at B1, we've corrected that. Then we also connect the higher end to the high elevation point of the R1 as well. We are currently aligning. It doesn't have to be perfectly accurate. As long as they can express themselves, it's fine by me. Right now, we are currently transferring this specific reference from the Properties tab over to the lower section of R2. We have drawn a rectangle at the roof level. We already have all necessary references in place for this task, so there is no need for further alignment at this stage. We have removed unnecessary angles and are now pulling the arrows to bring everything into final alignment. The roofs are mostly finished. Now we need to select and align the remaining walls. In the meantime, to avoid cluttering the drawing, right-click on it and from Elements, I am hiding it for now. If you would like to unhide it, there is a light bulb icon located just below. Go ahead and click on that icon. Select the drawing, then click the Unhide button to finish. Let's keep them hidden for the time being. I am going to start by attaching the walls to the sloped roof sections. I am currently selecting them one by one. You can select them individually if you like, or you can simply hold down the Control key on your keyboard to select multiple walls at the same time. By the way, after selecting a certain number of walls, we can check the elevation to see if there are any errors. If there are any we haven't added to the selection, we can select those as well. We are currently attaching it to the roof area above. If you find that the lines appear to be a bit too thick, you can simply select the Thin Lines option from the menu located above by clicking right here. We can adjust settings so the lines appear significantly thinner. By the way, Revit just prompted us to save our work. We should make sure to save our work quite often. You can click the Save button. Let's make sure we save it so that if something goes wrong, we don't lose our files. Now, looking at this from the side, I have come to realize that I selected a bit too much in my last drawing. The walls within that specific selection really need to be extended all the way up to the roof above. So, I have decided that I am going to choose the high roof option once again. However, I have just noticed that there is a bit of a rather annoying problem with this specific setup here. The roof section that sits lower down and the roof section that sits higher up share the exact same set of walls. Let us go ahead and give it a try right now. Could we perhaps fix it by using the Edit Profile option? It did not work as we had hoped. It returned an error message in this model. Alright then, we are going to make our way up to the highest point of that lower roof and we're adding a wall right there. We fit it perfectly into place by adjusting it in 3 dimensions. I'm bringing it into place by moving a little closer and pulling it like this. It seems to be quite fine for now. I think that should be enough. This really does seem sufficient. I'm not attaching the walls to each other for now. That line there can stay. Now, this is a specific error that I was talking about. If I try to align it with either the top or the bottom roof, the system throws an error message. So for now, I am just slicing it from a completely random point, just like this. Go on and let this go to the roof above. We've successfully repaired that problematic gap. Now we can finally proceed with the rest of the work by securely attaching them to the roof's upper section. Yes, we've selected the last wall as well. We've aligned it to the top. It looks like there was a small glitch there. We're fixing it. There seems to be an attachment issue occurring at the column points here. We really ought to fix that as well. I went ahead and lowered the parapet wall a little bit by eye. Next up is the garden area. We have now reached the garden level. We are able to generate a toposolid starting from this point. A toposolid does not necessarily need to be sloped or inclined. We can also choose to create it as a flat surface. However, I think we should begin by focusing on the walls, as that will make the boundaries much clearer. We have selected a 25 centimeter wall. For this, we are applying a 90 centimeter top offset measured from the garden level. So the base is at the garden and the top is at the garden plus 90 centimeters. To speed things up a little, I have just clicked to select all of the key points once again. You'll have to manually handle all the parts that are conflicting with that specific repository. We are going to have to fix this. You should do it just like this by using the Align tool. All of their top alignments. We're setting it up. There might be a few minor issues here. On certain occasions, simply deleting the entire thing and starting over from scratch is the most effective way to resolve the issue. At other times, grabbing it by the edge to shift it out of the way and then carefully placing it back into its original position might just be the perfect solution. In specific instances where the trim tool fails to work, we can manually drag the object into its proper place. Since there is a complex situation regarding the terrain structure here, I have aligned it by using specific terrain references. Let's also fix that corner. Now that our exterior walls are defined, we can build the floor. So what we have gathered here before us is, we are currently looking at a base that measures 1.2 meters. That is very close to the dimensions we were hoping for. The reason is that we are also adding a swimming pool, and the depth of that pool will impact the surrounding land. It is required that it matches the depth of the piece. I went ahead and selected the arch option from the very top of the list here. I think we should go ahead and make a small correction here. We can always draw the rest of it at a later time. The land work is pretty much done too. Let's open up the area where the pool is. We're planning to add the swimming pool right here. The project is, for the most part, now complete. I am holding off on the first floor design until the window drawings are finished. The same applies to the construction of the stairs and the railings. Finally, let's add the garden stairs. I'm using a different method here. Rather than using the stair feature, I am going to draw a slab that is 17 centimeters thick right there. What I actually mean is that I am simply drawing a floor instead. First, I am drawing the large step down here at the bottom. I will decide whether to align it with the garden or the ground floor level. It would be much easier to do this if we were working in a 3D environment. It is easier to see all the references when you look at it in 3D. And now, let us proceed to draw the 17 centimeter step on the top surface as well. Now, I am going to add the 17 centimeter step on top of this whole structure. Now let's look at 3 dimensions. So this specific section is proving to be problematic. The garden. Rather than keeping it on this level, we really need to move it down to the ground floor level. What if we were to use the 17 instead of the 34 for this specific case? And we applied a 17 center offset. Let's apply a minus 17 offset to this one as well. In this specific instance, we have chosen to apply a slightly different offset to the garden at minus 17 from the step on the ground floor. If you place both levels on the ground floor, you can assign minus 17 to the first and minus 34 to the second. Both configurations will work perfectly. Once you finish those, please handle the 2 small steps in the garden as well. We are adding it in right now. If you would like to draw these out using the stair option, that is perfectly fine by me. As you can see, the mass has now largely taken its intended final shape. Please make sure to save all of your project files immediately. This is absolutely critical to the integrity of our work. Arrange the views so they remain clear and legible. Keep the elevations properly aligned to ensure the entire presentation is easy to understand. I am just about finished with the final touches on this drawing. Now it is up to you to design and create all of the windows and the doors. Once you have finished that, you might want to consider adding some extra shading to those specific section views. You will find that your section lines are conveniently located within the project schematics. After that, go ahead and add those section views into your plans by utilizing the software tools. And please make sure to create a nice presentation format.